The man said, "I don't even talk fast. Why would I want to play fast?" This is the Righteous Bojambo, and it's time to talk about B.B. King. Guten Morgen, meine Freunde. I came late to the blues. I was in my mid to late 20s when, as the song says, I first met the blues. The artist that hooked me in was a chap called Elmore James with a song called Look on Yonder's Wall. But it was the next artist I encountered, B.B. King, who reeled me in. Almost universally hailed as the king of the blues. B.B. King, in a career that lasted 60 or more years, somehow transcended just being a man with the guitar. He became a universal symbol of the blues. And he was, very possibly, the most singularly influential electric guitar player of all time. And I have 12 songs in which to summarise all of that for you. 12 songs from the King of the Blues? Let's get down to it. The 3 O'Clock Blues from 1951 was a #1 R&B hit for King. Chunkier than Lowell Fulsom's 1948 original with its added horns, this song created a music with one foot squarely in the hard blues and the other foot in the camp of what was still then called race music but would, within a couple of years, be called rhythm and blues. This punchy, swinging style, along with a refining guitar vocabulary, was to be King's calling card for the next dozen or so years. Shake It Up and Go from 1952, a rambunctious run through a song as old as the blues itself, notable for its good-humoured roister-doistery in the vocal, King's galloping, almost jazzy guitar work showing off his Charlie Christian influence, and his constantly forgetting, or at least misremembering, the lyrics, which served again to enforce the notion that King was a pivotal artist in the transition from the blues as an oral, isolated, and rural tradition to a mass-communicated, templated, and retainable urban one. You Upset Me Baby from 1954 saw King back at #1 on the R&B charts with one of his most well-loved earlier songs, given its pumping jump blues feel and slick and snazzy interplay between horns and King's cracking guitar. The track reminds us of the work of Louis Jordan, by then a forgotten figure whom King had not forgotten, nor we at the Righteous Bojambo, recording many years later a tribute album to a man who could rightfully claim to have been one of the most direct progenitors of rock and roll. "1956 brought us Every Day I Have the Blues." King is still in his B.B. King orchestra mode. The horns are a greasy Greek chorus of R&B and his guitar humming and stinging like a wrathful wasp. But it's his voice that's changed. Higher, more flexible, growing from weary to hysterical in its level of emotion. And there's a toughness underneath the music, in the drumming behind King's solo and throughout the last verse. Things were changing. From 1961's excellent My Kind of Blues album, Someday Baby, in which King's vocals saunters insouciantly through the song, while his solo is ringing with his trademark and matchless vibrato, and the kind of dynamics that's tempting to think a scrappy young Buddy Guy listened to and took note of. A scrappy young Bob Dylan certainly listened to it and took note of it, producing a remarkably similar effort on his 2006 album Modern Times. Rock Me Baby, King's first ever pop top 40 hit from 1964, became the song every aspiring blues rocker in the 60s and 70s plugged into and got to work on. Another of those songs which have been through many, many hands before King found it and made the definitive version of it. It's an important and historical record because its acceptance by a white pop-buying audience was a key step towards the integration of the blues into rock and roll, supplanting the lighter, more danceable R&B influences as rock and roll started to evolve into rock music. How Blue Can You Get from 1964 and the seminal Live at the Regal album, which to my mind is just one of the greatest records ever made. With its long solo full of buzzing vibrato and whisper to a shriek dynamics, leading to King's mournful declaration, "I've been downhearted, babe." The song is just what it says on the label, a man so blue he can't possibly see how much bluer he could get, and the payoff at the ending is legendary. Gambler's Blues, recorded at the International Club in Chicago, shows him broadening his guitar palette with dramatic obligatos and a harder tone, and wowing the crowd. As King worked the Chitlin circuit down to its weary nub, crisscrossing the country on endless tours, another audience was building for him as rock musicians like Paul Butterfield, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones were declaring themselves fans and extolling his playing. And when he played like this, it was little wonder. "1968's Paying the Cost to Be the Boss" from the Blues on Top of Blues album is a rollicking romp of a song featuring a return horn section which does a mighty job and a spectacular vocal. Clearly aimed at getting the then buzzing King back into the pop top 40, the record did stall at number 39, which is remarkable for a straight blues song, but was probably small beer next to King and his management's ambitions. While the song has such sophisticated commercial aspirations, it is, at its heart, the bare bones of the blues, in as much as it balances the call and response between the voice and the guitar, much the same as it ever was when in 1902 W.C. Handy first heard that raggedy man playing a laptop guitar with a knife blade in Turner, Mississippi. The blues didn't give birth to rock and roll. The blues stood its ground and waited for rock and roll to come to it. King always considered his 1969 album Live and Well to be one of his finest records, especially his centerpiece, as much as the final track can be a centerpiece, Why I Sing the Blues, which doubles down on the funk factor for a then epic 8.5 minutes, in which King seizes the bully pulpit and reclaims the blues as the primary oral tradition for African Americans. 1970s, The Thrill Is Gone, originally released by Roy Hawkins in the same year as 3 O'Clock Blues, grows from a story of love grown tired and about to be consigned to history and turns into a litany of wretched hate with sinister undertones. The strings, used for the first time on a King record, seethe vituperatively, the electric piano boils underneath, and humour crack and heave everything from the guitar parts on Brown Eyed Girl to Hey 19. His guitar provides a glossy groove under a vocal that carries the weight of the world. King had 32 top 100 hits during his career, and this was the biggest of them, reaching as high as number 15. We end with 1971's King's Special, a remarkable summation of the man's guitar vocabulary at the time. An unusually freewheeling solo for King, which finds him playing well out of what most people would have considered his comfort zone, but still every bit as lyrical as we're accustomed to, with a touch of extra southern funk to it, and unmistakably B.B. King, unmistakably the King of the Blues. Two final personal reflections on B.B. King. First one was shortly after he died. I went to a music festival and saw a band with easily the greatest band name ever, Ukulele Blitzkrieg. They played the blues on ukulele. And this band were kids. They were younger than my kids. They were in high school. And their lead singer and head uke player had painted very crudely in big white letters on his uke, "Thank you, B.B. King." And for some reason that touched me very deeply. The second one is the first time I ever saw B.B. King. He was the opening act. He was the walk-on act for Ray Charles, which is fair enough. It's not like they had him opening for Big Crit or anything like that. I'd be delighted with any suggestions, corrections, or other personal reflections that you may wish to share in the comments. Please do so below. And until we talk again next time, or the nasty YouTube police shut this channel down, you keep listening to the good stuff, and you stay righteous. Body for Aretha Franklin to Big K-R-I-T-T, or Big Crit, or however you say his name. Levi, any idea?
I think it's Big Crit.
I think it's Big Crit. Okay, we're going to go with Big Crit.